Going live, appreciating transience of experiences. Hi. Let me see. Well, I kind of felt like reading some things. So this is from the book Meditation for Mortals by Oliver Berkman, author of 4,000 Weeks, which I have not read. Um, I think I just like opened this book to a random page and I started reading it. And I mean, I've read parts of it before, so I think it's pretty relevant to some things I have to keep in mind, and it's probably relevant to a lot of people. I mean, hence why like this book is a bestseller. Not saying that every book that's a bestseller is a book that's to be appreciated by everyone, but anyways, um, so my outfit today, by the way, I got this from a local resale shop called Second Blessings at the Church Band Memorial down the street from where I live. So a scarf, and I don't know what you call this. This thing's kind of cool. And this shirt here, the best is yet to come. It's actually a really nice T-shirt that my friend Kathy gave me a while ago. One of my closest friends, although I don't talk to her a whole lot due to the distance and her busyness with her PhD program. But anyways, I don't know why I'm advertising the shirt, I guess, in case anybody's curious. And then these two, I don't know who their prior owners are. I understand the church gets them a lot from estate sales. With that said, let me just read this. So day 25, you can't hoard life on letting the moments pass. The nature of finite things as such is to have the seed of passing away as their essential being. The hour of their birth is the hour of their death. Read G.W.F. Hegel, Hegel. A couple years ago, my family and I moved from Brooklyn to the New York moors in northern England, which means that very often in the early mornings, carrying a flask of hot coffee, I get to stroll along a lane with spectacular views across a valley to the heather-topped ridge beyond. In winter, the pink light of sunrise pours itself slowly over fields buried in snow. Regularly in spring and summer, a barn owl swoops low across my path. It's a magical landscape, and one that I've loved since childhood. You'd be surprised at how frequently I find a way to feel bad about this. Or maybe you wouldn't, since the tendency to turn delightful experiences into stressful ones is rather widespread. Were I to put the stressful feeling into words, it might go roughly as follows. This is amazing. This is the kind of place in which I've always wanted to live, and the kind of thing I've always wanted to do in the early mornings. So I better make sure I'm getting the most out of it, and also do whatever I can to make sure I can keep having this sort of experience forever, because it's slipping away already. Mainly, though, the feeling I'm talking about isn't a matter of words. It's better described as a clenching or a gripping, an attempt to grasp hold of what's happening so as to mine it for as much value as possible, and somehow to claim ownership of it for myself. Needless to say, this is a suboptimal way to have an enjoyable experience. Among spiritual traditions, Buddhism is uniquely insightful when it comes to this specific form of suffering, how we make ourselves more miserable than necessary, not just by railing against negative experiences we're having or craving experiences we aren't having, but by trying too hard to hold on to good things that are happening exactly as we wanted them to. That's what's going on whenever you fail to savor a moment in nature, or with a newborn, or while eating an exceptional meal, because you're too focused on trying to savor it or somehow extend it into the future. It's also what happens when you're too busy attempting to quote unquote make memories from experience so as to be able to reflect upon it later, or worse, to post pictures on social media. Another version of the same phenomenon occurs when you reach the end of the day on which you've been unusually successful in getting your work done or sticking to your fitness routine, but instead of thinking, what a great day, and luxuriating in your achievement, you find yourself thinking, yes, now that's the kind of day I'm aiming for, and now it's my job to make sure that this is merely the first of many such days to come. Congratulations, you turned a potential source of easy delight into a cause of further stress. In all these cases, in different ways, you're tightening around the experience in order to try to get more out of it. An additional level of enjoyment motivation for future triumphs, or something else. Yet the reality, so easy to grasp on an intellectual level, is that it's detrimental to approach good experiences like this. Therefore, living, not holding on to. Spending your days trying to get experiences under your belt so as to maximize your collection of them, or to feel more confident about their future supply, means you never get to enjoy them properly because another agenda is at play. It's nice to collect memories, of course, but the way to do that isn't to go about trying to collect them. It's living them as fully as possible so as to remember them vividly later. Perhaps all anxiety, writes Sarah Manguso, might derive from a fixation on moments, inability to accept life as ongoing. Our attempt to grip onto fleeting experiences expresses the desire to store them up, use them for future purposes, freeze time in its tracks, or in some other way to resist the truth that this is it. And yet it follows from our finitude that the value of anything good that's happening now has to lie, at least in part, in our experience of it as it occurs, rather than how we might co opt it into our long term project of trying to feel less finite. Why I say I like to look over the valley every morning forever, I'm denying my finitude in a rather obvious way. Because even if I were never to move house again and to live to the age of 130, there'd be no forever about it. There would just be a few more decades of morning coffees, a less invisible speck of time against the backdrop of the eons. All my clenching and grasping would have done precisely nothing to render the experience permanent. Contrast these efforts to grab hold of experience with the spirit of the Japanese tea ceremony, in which fleetingness is understood not as a threat to what's unfolding, but as the source of its value. The exquisite precision of the ritual is intended to articulate and to honor the unrepeatable, unhoardable nature of the moment in which it occurs, as the 19th century Japanese statesman E. Natsuki explains. Great attention should be given to a tea gathering, which we can speak of as one time, one meeting, ichigo, ichi. Even though the host and guests may see each other often socially, one day's gathering can never be repeated exactly. Viewed this way, the meeting is indeed a once in a lifetime occasion. You can have 100 tea ceremonies. You could even have all of them with the same people, but you can only have that ceremony, that cup of tea once. Then that stretch of time evaporates forever. If it didn't, if in defiance of all logic, it somehow persisted so that you could return to it whenever you liked, for as long as you liked, it would be vastly less precious. The transience is the whole point. On the days when I allow myself to move through life in this unclenched way, things are much more naturally enjoyable because I'm not trying to make myself appreciate them or self-consciously feel grateful for them. The less I'm trying to get something out of experience, the more I find I can get into it, and the more I can be present for other people involved in it. This is not to say that life becomes a matter of unbroken good cheer. After all, it's sad that a beautiful moment arises and then vanishes. But it's a flavor of sadness conveyed by the Japanese phrase momo no aware, a wistful pathos at the transience of things, the kind of poignant sadness that deepens an experience instead of detracting from it, the kind you feel once you're no longer grasping at the moment, thereby undermining your experience of it, but stepping more fully into it, feeling yourself a part of it, a part of it, being it. So that was speaking of tea, I'm gonna drink a little bit here. Kudos Justin Yoon, who loves tea almost as much as I do, or possibly more, and gave me some delicious tea from I think either from Taiwan or his home province in China, or his parents' home province. But anyways, that's besides the point. Well, it is actually part of the point, since if I savor this tea, even though there's more and I can keep drinking it, this cup, this drinking experience is that's it. There's no more. I can't constantly repeat this experience. I think in Yeah, so like there was a while back I was trying to um I don't know, I guess I could say optimize my life, I suppose, or try to develop experiences that are try to live life where every day had a lot of like meaning and things like that. I don't know. Um but the point is like, as it suggests, like there's nothing that lasts forever. Even the best experiences, the most enjoyable ones, the most meaningful ones, it has to end, and then we move on to the next stage, right? Whatever we do next. So, um, for me, I think add on to that, like what is said, the first part about social media, a little bit about making memories. I used to carry around like a giant camera with me since I like doing some photography. I mean, I still enjoy photography, but I haven't done any in a while. And like, I'll realize, yeah, like when I'm just taking all these photos, I'm not really seeing things as a, well, how should I put it? I see things, but I'm not really experiencing it. Um, these days, I'm not carrying around, cameras anymore, taking a bunch of photos. I want to be more in the present. The thing that I admittedly have struggled with is putting my phone away, since there's been times when I'm experiencing something beautiful. Say I'm taking a walk somewhere, or I'm at an event. I just feel this inclination to take a bunch of photos, send it to people, and say, "Hey, look, here's what I'm doing." Or in the past, we're putting on social media. I'd be like, "Here's what I'm doing." Um, but if the bulk of my activity, or even not a bulk, but like if that's what I'm spending my energy doing, I'm missing the moment. This is especially true, if I like, for instance, nature, right? Taking a walk in nature, enjoying that. Admittedly, earlier this year, I think this is a lesson that actually Megan enforced on me, in the sense that there's a lot of I just like, you can't really focus on what's here and now when you're distracted by technology, and you pretty much are not actually experiencing the moment as it stands. Um, you're just everything is just like, I don't know, like it passes and goes, and you're not even really observing it. And that's what I've noticed. Like I have a lot of, I guess, a bunch of photos I took when I, went traveling in other places, and um, yeah, sometimes it's like, it's exciting and it's new and all, but you got to put it aside and um, just actually experience it. And the facet in there, this author talks about how you want to hold on and want to like preserve it as a memory. I've definitely had that as well, where I would be thinking to myself, well, when I go back to my regular life or whatever, like this is something that I'm going to experience. Like I got to remember this, but that's once again detracting from the moment, from the actual experience. Um, so I'm talking about traveling and doing interesting things like that, which may, well, for most people at least, is not, and including myself, is not something that I'm doing all the time. But this was true even for like more mundane things, so to speak. Like, um, I don't know, like when I'm reading a book that I like, or watching a movie or a TV show. Um, One thing I realized is that, well, eventually it's going to end, right? I'm going to finish reading this great novel. This TV show is going to end. So, and it would seem like, wow, I wish it would just keep going and going. Maybe that's partly why I can be obsessed with web series, since those tend to get, some of them tend to go on forever. The point is, like, at some point, like I have to savor what it is and then move on to the next thing. So that's how it is, and I can revisit it, of course, in the future, but at the moment, like I can't expect something that I find enjoyable to keep lasting forever. Um, anyways, I wrote in here, no experience can be fully owned. I mean, those are my own words. I guess when I first read this book, that's what I wrote down, and That is true. I mean, the most you can do is be a participant, active participant in the experience. You never own the experience. You can never hold on. I can never. No one can ever hold on to the experience completely. Um, and so, why not, as this author suggests, live every moment and actually truly live in it, so that don't worry about trying to and making it lasting forever, or trying to make it so that you can remember it better later. The best way to remember something later is to actually living it in the present moment, whether that's by myself, by yourself, or with someone else, or with other people, right? So, when you're with someone, like, be fully present and enjoy that time spent with that person or persons. That's something else. Like, that's why, like, modern day, like, especially the phone, I'm holding an invisible phone. I'm not holding it. It's a huge distraction in the sense that, it takes you away from the present now, and you're not actually experiencing fully what it is that's in front of you. So, the other thing that is not written here, but I would like to just add on, is I've been practicing as well, just actually really listening to people, which may sound bizarre, but I find, like, maybe is not, it's not something which is naturally developed, at least not for me, because most people, okay, I'll just speak for myself. Um, I like to express my thoughts. Typically, my brain's thinking about things, or I'm feeling something, or maybe I'm distracted. So if someone's talking, I may not be paying full attention. Um, but that's not giving that person, that's not experiencing the moment, right? If there's someone uh, speaking to me, or speaking to a group of people, and I'm part of the audience, then in order to fully experience that, like, I do want to be fully engaged and not having my mind distracted, or me looking at my phone or something else. So, and then really hearing what that person has to say, could lend itself to actually, developing something further in terms of a connection, if it is me. Yeah. So, anyways, that's another thing that's important. Maybe it's in another chapter in this book. I don't know. I mean, just another facet of being in the moment. Someone named Michael, I don't know who that is, Lionheart said, "You speak to stars." Um, Actually, in a way, sort of. Working in the space industry is definitely speaking to stars. I mean, in a roundabout way, I suppose. As a child, when I looked up at the skies, that those were moments. Actually, I do strongly recall, like, just, I don't know, just feeling that connection with the universe and everything. I don't know if I was speaking to the stars or I felt like something, but there was maybe a language that had no words. Um, yeah, I would say those were very precious moments. Um, so, Speaker Stars is also my Instagram uh, handle. So there is that. But yeah, I think that's it for now. I think what's coming up next for me is probably doing some more reading. I feel like doing some of that before doing some more space work. Um, I don't know. It's just, yeah. I've had my little social dose for the day. So I feel like I kind of want some alone time to just read and engage my mind in other ways. Maybe I'll write some code. I haven't fully decided yet. There's one of my friends told me today. My friend Michelle was telling me, because I was talking to her about emotions and feeling kind of sad and all, and you know, and I was saying, yeah, over. This is a slight detraction, but she was saying, well, like, you could live life. You're someone, Shen, who, out of everybody I know in the city of Houston, she was telling me this. You have so many interests, and you're very good at doing things that are enriching, like enriching life experiences. Um, and so maybe, like, and she suggested that I share with her every single day, like, aside from a gratitude list, but like, what enriching experiences did I do today? Like, what did I do that helped grow me, like, learn something or internally develop? I was like, this is. I mean, she gave me a compliment, but it was very truthful, and I was thinking, yeah, I mean, there is a lot to that. You know, like I could do a lot of things that is very enriching, um, and and there is quite a lot I could do. In a sense, like many people, I tend to overcomplicate my life, and my own thinking with compounded with a lot of some negativity for sure with unmet expectations. But really, everything I believe happens for a reason, and if there's things that I wish was a certain way that isn't, I feel like I live and learn and grow, right? So ideally, my experiences in the future will be more optimal in the sense that I will try to make it so. Um, I'm not perfect, but I can get better at not sabotaging my own life, or you know, making other people's lives. I want to make other people's lives better, right? Not worse. So, anyways, yeah. So that's just something else, and I think it ties in here as well because when she said enriching life experiences, that's part of it, right? Being able to experience things, just living in there, not trying to worry about the future, like, well, yeah, and essentially, just actually just living life. So, um, I could just talk on and on. I suppose at some point I will have to stop, but the whole perspective here is, um, yeah, I mean, the unmet expectations part as well. That ties in here because it is something like I wish something would last longer, right? Or I wish something would go a certain way. Um, But so if it doesn't, I can appreciate a lot of the good things that have happened in the past. I can work on myself, work on developing more experiences, and just be constantly on the growth path. I mean, I think that's the only thing I could do that's good for myself. Um, yeah. So, any case, life is both easy and complicated. Easy in that, um, you know, you live life with joy, like don't have unmet expectations, live in the present, don't keep thinking about the past, don't project into the future. Everything is simple if you have these principles, but then actually applying them is very difficult. So, and that's part of the challenge. Huge part of the challenge is, first of all, understanding the principles. Second part is actually implementing it, and implementing it, well, that takes practice. So, all right. Well, I guess I'm just gonna sign off for the moment. Tomorrow, I'm gonna do a space show with my co-host Leonard. That should be good. Um, I might go to another art show. Haven't decided. I definitely write some more code. So with that, let it be.